I am joined in studio by a man who's thrown his hat into the ring for Wapello County Attorney. Wapello County Assistant Attorney Ruben F. is our guest. Ruben, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. First off, I want to know, what made you want to run in the first place?
Well, yeah, I did throw in my hat kind of last minute. So, I've always wanted to be the top prosecutor in a county. That's something that I realized pretty early on. Before I even went to law school, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was help people. I studied economics. My hope was to do economic policy, help poverty, get people out of that rut. When I went to law school, I realized I preferred criminal law, and the first internship I could take was with Florida's version of a county attorney's office, state attorney's office. Anyway, long story short, I came up here, and frankly, after seeing how things are run here, seeing a lot of cases go by the wayside, I view it kind of like the duty of any prosecutor. You have to make sure the community's safe. I don't feel that way, and so I decided to run.
What made you run? What made you move from Florida to Iowa?
Well, my wife and I, we were looking to start a family over there, just with the way city living is. We're in a 400 square foot apartment, and we started thinking, if we really want to start a family, we're going to have to look for another option. Sheila's family, Sheila's my wife, they're up here, and we thought, well, let me look for prosecution jobs in Iowa. Wapello, I found a job here, moved on up. Now we bought a house. We actually just finished putting about 300 pounds of concrete in the backyard, and we've been working on it since.
You mentioned how you've seen the attorney's office run in other counties. What's the difference that you've seen in your previous jobs as opposed to Wapello County?
Yeah, so I've probably practiced now in, I should probably know this by heart, but let's say give or take 6 different jurisdictions.
Okay.
Jurisdictions are just different places where people, basically argue. And in every single one of them, every single office I worked for had strict procedures, strict training rules. I was thoroughly trained. There was a whole hierarchy that went on. I would have somebody shadowing me, taking me to trial, sitting there with me, explaining every single thing you had to do. And so every single place I've been has had that structure. Wapello County does not. And a lot of small county attorneys' offices don't. But Wapello is not the type of place you can just wing it, so to speak. You need to have structure so that the new attorneys that come in, and a lot of Wapello's attorneys are newer, they're straight from law school, they need that structure so that they know what to do when push comes to shove and they need a trial.
What type of structure is missing from Wapello County?
So the ABA, American Bar Association, they put out a lot of different regulations, standards, training policies. There's also NHTSA, which is just essentially a fancy word for a training organization that tries prepping people for trial. The Wapello County Attorney's Office and any other prosecution office, their top priority is prosecution of criminal law, crimes, statutes. You need to be ready to go to trial a lot in that type of situation. It's not like civil law where a lot of things are always resolved. So you need a set of structured principles, guidance to get people to handle their cases. What we don't have any criteria for how to make a plea offer. Now every case is unique. You gotta look at the facts of it, but there's no general guidance as to, say, sex abuse third, homicide. What are you going to do under those circumstances? For instance, state attorney's office down in Hillsborough County, Florida, anytime they had a homicide, they would sit down with a round table of every supervising attorney and say, here are the facts, how do we want to proceed, what type of offer are we going to make? We don't have that. Right now, there's not even guidance on how to have an attorney assist with a trial, whether that's required or not. So there's no structure for an attorney even to start getting their foot in the door to learn trials. For instance, on homicides, usually you're going to have a second chair. What that means is you're going to have an attorney working with you, shadowing you, giving you suggestions in case you miss anything, because we're all human, we miss things. Apparently, before I even came here, that wasn't a goal, to have people sit with you for a major trial, gain experience with you for a major trial. The county attorney would just go to trial on his own. That's highly unusual. And I think it's a product of the fact that the county attorney here started here and was never trained and has just kind of learned as he went. I've seen how larger offices function. I've seen how those procedures need to be implemented. And frankly, I have more trial experience. So I'm in a much better position to teach it than he is.
What was it about is there a hierarchy in the Wapello County? Because you said there's no structure, there's no what is the hierarchy, if any, in the Wapello County Attorney's Office in your estimation?
Every time a trial period comes up, every attorney starts discussing whose trial needs to go. No one really knows what the priority is. We try to work it out amongst ourselves, but no one comes in and says, that's the most serious case, that needs to go to trial. That's something we kind of work out amongst ourselves, the other assistants.
Gary Oldenburger, what was your impression when you first started working for him, and has that changed since you started, fast forwarding to now?
He struck me as someone that was a bit of an introvert, somewhat quiet, which is kind of unusual for a prosecutor, but I've seen it before, and there are excellent introverts. I started as an introvert when I started my legal career. I've slowly developed a more extrovert personality, but that was my impression of him. He was more of an introvert. Now, since then, I know that when I came here, it was national news what he did on the Grooms case, the sexual abuse of the 1-year-old on video. I understand it's a tough call of a prosecutor to make an offer in certain cases, and when I first came here, didn't second guess him on that. Since working with him for almost a year and a half now, I do. I've seen other cases like the Mike Hetty case where the facts of that case, at least as alleged by law enforcement, were Mike Hetty shot at a gas tank. It lit a house on fire with 4 people inside, and allegedly he knew they were inside. Law enforcement arrived as the house was burning down and saw people running out. And then there was a gunfight between Mike Hetty and the officers, leading to Mr. Hetty being shot. Just seemed like there was a refusal to stand down. That was an awful case. The facts of it were pretty tough, and apparently the offer that was made on it was don't get in trouble for 6 months. It's essentially what we call a deferred prosecution. And it was dismissed while Gary Oldenburg was on vacation in Germany. I was made aware of the case the Friday before it was dismissed. None of us knew it was coming up on the docket. We don't try watching what the county attorney's cases are going to be, but to me it was a concern, for one, what the offer had been, and that's how the case was resolved. And then the second issue was that he went on vacation to give us a heads up.
What you